everyone, Coach Dave here. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing the 4 reoccurring beginner mistakes that I see quite often. Now, I'm going to be showing the reels for the videos as I'm talking through each of the beginner mistakes. This first one here is when you're at the kitchen line here and your opponent's at the baseline and you're doing a good job of keeping them back, but then you decide to do a short drop. So let's watch this. We do this short drop because we're trying to get a free point and hoping that they can't get to the ball after we do the short drop. The problem with this is that although in certain situations this is a fine shot, a good shot, but in most cases people will not do it correctly. If we are just having a regular rally here, I don't want to bring my opponent into the kitchen. I want to keep them back. When we are at the kitchen line, when our opponents are at the baseline, we have a strategic advantage, okay? So right now, that ball is high enough where certainly I can keep my opponent back if I apply some pace and depth to that ball. But instead, I try to do this fancy little short drop and try to win a point that way. And when I do that, all I'm doing is just inviting that player up to the kitchen line. The next reoccurring beginner mistake I see quite often is this. Players, when receiving a serve, stand right at the baseline. Now, the reason why this is a problem is that if the serve lands at the baseline or even on the line, we cannot hit that ball cleanly without moving backwards. If we try to hit the ball that's hit right at the baseline where I'm standing right now, we're not going to be able to get a clean hit on the ball and we'll most likely miss it. We'll likely hit it down to the ground or more likely hit it into the net. So here's what happens most often. That you're hitting the ball while moving back and now you're taking yourself out of the point, you're out of the position, and you're giving your opponents a really easier shot with more open space in the court. So what do we want to do? We want to be standing and giving ourselves enough room between us and the baseline in order to hit that ball in front of us and cleanly. Not only that, the other reason why we start back is that our momentum when we hit the return will bring us forward into the court. When we're receiving the ball, we want to do the return and run method. I want to be hitting through the ball and having my momentum come up so that I can get to the kitchen line as efficiently as possible. Avoid standing right at the baseline so you do not get pushed back. Instead, give yourself some room, hit through the ball, your momentum takes you to the kitchen, and you're ready to play up the point. The third reoccurring beginner mistake I see is when you serve the ball and you move into the court like this. And what happens is when you start to walk into the court, inevitably that ball will come back and be deep and you have to move back and do that. And we know that because of the 2 bounce rule, we cannot volley the ball, so we have to let it bounce. So what we do is we end up doing this. Pushes us back, and then we have to hit an off-balance shot. Our momentum is going the wrong way. And again, we're taking ourselves out of the point. Instead, we want to hit that ball, come back, serve and stay, hit the ball, and allow momentum then to come up after we hit the ball. The third recurring beginner mistake I see, which might be a little bit more advanced beginner-ish or even intermediate, but I think it's worth noting, is that I see a lot of players swing with just their arms, just like that. They only use their arms when they serve, just like that. So what ends up happening is you're not maximizing the power of your serve. And for a lot of people, especially older folks that may not have great arm strength, I see a lot of serves that are just making it over the kitchen line on the other side. That's not putting pressure on your opponents to stay back at the baseline, but again, that's inviting them in to get a really easy journey to the kitchen line, which we don't want. We want to keep them back. To help you put more power on your serve, what I want you to do is start to look to incorporate your core and use hip rotation, as the hips, when you drive them through the swing, generates a lot of extra power. So think about a golfer swinging, or a baseball or softball player swinging. They just don't swing their arms. They're really using their hips to spring open and drive the hips through, open them up, and then their hands follow, and either they're hitting the baseball, softball, they're hitting the golf ball. Okay, just kind of visualize that. But now visualize that with your pickleball swing, just like that. I'm coming through the ball, as you see there. Here's another example. I'm allowing my hips to come through, and that's where I'm getting my power from. So if you need a little extra power in your serve, try to incorporate hip rotation and really open up those hips so that you can put more power in the ball. I hope this was helpful. Have a good rest of your day.